Hey, Chris.
Hey, buddy. Sorry, I didn't call you right at 5.
It's all right.
I was, I've got two major deadlines, and I was trying to get one out. I ended up having to email it to the judge, but anyway, so apologize for being a little bit late. But
That's all right.
anyway, so what's going on, man? What was your surgery on again? Your back?
Neck.
Did something?
Neck.
Is it old or did something happen?
No, I've got herniated disc from old injuries and stuff, and so they did a C6-7 disc replacement where they put a prosthesis in instead of take out the bad disc and they put a prosthetic one in. But they have to go in the front of the throat to do it. So it's, it has some risks.
Hey, it wasn't God, what's that guy's name? Who was your surgeon?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Just the guy I was trying to talk to you about to associate with me on.
Yes. Yeah.
Steve somebody, I can't, or Stephen Constantine somebody, I can't even think of his damn name.
It begins with an A. It's just slipped my mind. That's how many years I've been out of Mid-Mountain.
Anagnost.
Yeah. Stephen Anagnost, yeah. No. Not
okay. Okay, because the only place that he can do anything, I think, right now is Cherokee County. So where it happened, and I was like, uh-oh, we got to talk.
Yeah, wasn't him. But anyway. So.
Well, you're still alive, so yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I had a post-operative hematoma that deviated my trachea and caused the airway compromise the last weekend, but it stopped bleeding on its own. I'd spent a couple days in the hospital just to ensure that it wasn't going to rebleed, but that's actually a pretty known common complication. So,
you got anybody staying with you or anything?
Nah. No, I'm good. I'm not bleeding. I don't think it's going to bleed anymore, so I don't have any concerns about it. So. But anyway, being off work, what I was getting at, being off work allowed me the luxury of a huge amount of time because I'm not very good at sitting around, and so I had a huge amount of time to go through everything, and most importantly, to look up all of Tyler's cases and then read all of the attachments to everything in every county. And it kind of
he hasn't even shown all his hand yet. That's the thing. But go ahead.
Well, no, it gave me a perspective as to what's going on in his head and kind of why he thinks some of the things that he thinks, and I'm not suggesting that it's irrational. I'm not, but I see Hanning's name appear in all these other cases, even in that freaking 2013 Vanessa, and Vanessa saying I'm gonna talk to James to ruin you, and I wanted to be real clear. Never, ever have I ever consulted with external attorneys on any case regarding this. So I'm not saying that James hasn't, because I don't know. He's a fucking crazy son of a bitch. But I haven't done it. I've never.
I didn't really feel like that you had, but I got to tell you, what I've seen points to he's either talking to Jack or somebody in Jack's office, and I didn't think it was you, but
no.
I mean, you're kind of for starters. When part of this happened, I don't even think you were. When did you even start back at the DA?
Not until June of 2018.
Well, and that was in another county.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the thing is, as to that, it's not. It's not even. I don't even think it's a strong suspicion anymore. I mean, he's pretty much got the goods. It's just I don't know who exactly it is over at the Wagoner County DA that is helping James out. I will tell you very candidly, I really honestly did not think that it was you. It really didn't even occur to me, but I made the assumption that it had to be Jack or somebody capable of pulling strings. Man, it's a mess. Like the thing that you found, for example, about Vanessa, saying that she's going to call James. She said that happened on December the 5th. I've got an email. Apparently, James went to the town of Adair as soon as he talked to her.
Shit.
Yeah, and I've got the record of him talking to the police chief. Thanks for giving me the records. Yeah. It's no joke.
But
that's how the app to accelerate got started in the first place.
Yeah.
They didn't know about it until James gave them that.
Yeah.
You see,
and so anyway, moving forward, he doesn't have any authority over any prosecution of Tyler at all. He may think he does. He has none. And that shit's that shit is dead. The other thing is I'm pretty tight with both Bob Stubblefield and Donnie.
Oh, well, then they know that.
Yeah, we're fine. Tyler's going to be fine. There's no fucking way he's going to prison for this cockamamie bullshit. Is it a technical violation? Yes. It's not a prison offense. The only thing Tyler has to worry about, and I'll talk to Donnie and Bob about it, is the only thing I saw is the dude who did his prelim in Mays County, Tom Sawyer, is a fucking nut job between you and me. I'll speak to them about that.
Was that an attorney for Tyler or attorney for the...
No, attorney for the state in Mays County. He works in the civil division. I couldn't figure out why he did the prelim. I thought that was weird.
I don't know if I'm really much into it, but I thought the timing of Jack's recusal was strange. I think Jack's probably thinking, man, fuck James. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on.
No.
There.
Kim. No, that was an internal decision, and Kim Hall, when she looked at it, said, "This has got to be a recusal. This is, if the party at issue once it became apparent that there was even an insinuation that there had been any collusion between the DA's office and James Hanning about making sure that Mays County knew that this guy was on probation, this, that, and the other. Anytime there's any potential for an accusation of impropriety, it is imperative that the DA's office take over. And so, they made that decision, and I think that's a fair decision, so that there's no accusation or appearance of impropriety. Regardless of what James did, it's not illegal in any way. Advising another jurisdiction that someone is on probation and following up and all that, there's nothing wrong with that. He can do it. Between you and me, it's a bullshit move. What's he trying to do? Get a fucking advantage to the litigation? That's what I was trying to tell you in my text, Chris, and I've always been straight up with you. I will not take a position that is at odds with the facts.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that, and what were you talking about when you said that? What do you have in mind, or is it just kind of a hypothetical?
As I was going through some of this, I'm kind of getting an overall picture. I understand that Tyler contributed a lot of money. I'm just trying to figure out what is, legitimate and what isn't? Because basically from your pleadings, and I have some questions about it. For example, if your contention is that he contributed through the course of this $176,000 and change in out-of-pocket money, plus, according to your pleading, the $258,000 to purchase properties, you're talking about nearly $500,000 in basically 4 years in cash. I mean, that begs the question: where the fuck is this money coming from? Because
he's been working since he was in ninth grade, and he saved it. Yeah, he's a dropout.
Yeah, but I looked now, Chris. Hold on. I looked at his custody paperwork, wherein he related that his gross monthly income in 2012 was basically $3,000. So I'm like, what the fuck? Where's this money coming from? And I'm not saying, that it's, ill-gotten gains or anything, but I mean the figures are just so high that, I'm trying to figure it all out. Now at the same time,
go ahead.
I get what you're saying in the sense of, James and Vic. No, they are what they are, but I mean, Tyler basically saying, okay, you guys manage this thing, and I'll just sit back and give you money, and then later on complaining about it. I mean, he has some rights. He has a right to be pissed off for James and calling around and whatever he did in the sense of, making sure that an app was filed and this, that, or the other. That's chicken shit.
Hey, can we hit the pause button for just a second on that topic? I want to tell you, I would like. You may say I'm not telling you anything, but I mean either maybe or at least your professional experience would inform you. Just it's not with a specific knowledge of this, but they dropped the app. Okay, they dropped the app on the 10th or 11th of July of 18. They refile it 6 days later. Okay, I mean there's nothing has happened in that time. They refile it 6 days later, and if you talk to Baker or Stubblefield, this may have been the topic of discussion. But in any event, they refile it. Well, James knows about it because James is the one who got things going in Eufaula. They all try to cover up about it, but as it turns out, I got Aaron Hanning's phone records. He said that he called Eufaula right after somebody who he can't remember who it was called and told him that there was a felon down in with a
he called and made sure he got arrested. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I get it.
So it was James, and they didn't want to make with that. James was trying to have. He was supposed to be in. Also, the testimony was that James knew that Tyler was supposed to be in Mays County the next day, which was the 26th.
Yeah.
Thing is, I guess Baker's wife or mom or somebody got sick, and so Baker, unbeknownst to everybody, had called over there and said, "Hey, let's push it back. Let's get a continuance. Neither me nor my client are going to appear." So that was the urgency to get Tyler arrested in McIntosh County, because really, if James wanted him arrested, all they would have to do is just send somebody over, put a hold in Mays County the next day. They didn't have to do all this other stuff. But that wouldn't quite have the same effect. If he was stuck in McIntosh County, then he'd miss his Mays court date, get his bond tripled, fuck him up on his
it's chicken shit.
I understand the angle that you're saying about it's not illegal to report. I understand that. Yeah. However, I think that if you're doing it to use it, if you're kind of creating the situation and trying to use it as a collateral advantage, and that's why I've got the question about that app, because that's what really makes it squirrely. The second app.
Look, Chris, any way you shake it, it's chicken shit. But
what's the reason? Give me a good reason
for
the drop in the app and refiling it. That's the thing. I mean, that's the part that I don't see any good reason for that. But I don't practice in the criminal area either, and so.
Well, the app is legitimate. Here's the only thing. Under the law, I think that whoever made the decision to refile the app, upon review, they're like, they approached the attorney and said, why the fuck did you drop the app? This is a legitimate violation of his probation. And at some point, my guess is the attorney said, I don't know, just getting rid of cases.
Was that Fisher?
I have attorneys that work under me. Yeah, I have attorneys that work under me all the time who arbitrarily dismiss stuff. And sometimes I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Now, between you and me and the fence post, I don't give a fuck about the app. As a prosecutor, 22 years practicing law, I look at this violation. He wasn't supposed to have a gun, but all of his protective orders had been dismissed by Vanessa at the time, so he's not in violation.
And he got full custody
law.
of his. He got full time with his daughter.
Hey,
it's
Vanessa.
Crazy.
Quite frankly, after I read everything, I was like, Tyler deserves an award for having to deal with crazy fucking Vanessa. That must be an ever-loving nightmare. Two separated by years, two separate allegations that he sexually abused his own daughter, which they're completely false.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's been tough. And now I understand what I was getting at is I understand why Tyler has some of the anger towards James, because James has been complicit in talking or taking phone calls from Vanessa and shit like that. I can tell you that when I first took this case in 2017, I was at a CLE and I got a call from Vanessa, and I said, Vanessa, I don't have anything to discuss with you. I represent James, but I'm not interested. And I'll tell you why. Because I was the prosecutor,
right,
as you know, in Tyler's original case. And I met with Vanessa twice. And by the second meeting, it became apparent that this woman is not psychologically stable. So I did not believe, and still to this day, continue not to believe anything that she says.
Presumably,
nor
Shook
does she have any impact on anything that I do. Yeah.
If Shook thought that there was a danger at all in anything she's ever said, he wouldn't have just. She has
it's false.
4 days a month. That's it. 4 days a month now. That's all she gets to see her daughter. That's pretty drastic.
It's patently false. So, all that shit aside, what I'm getting at is we just need to figure out what the legitimate cut-up is. And
Let's go back to the civil end. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I do not have any interest. In fact, after I file this response, this may be the last that I do if this does not head towards settlement, because I'm done with it. I have no interest in continuing litigation on collateral issues that this should be an equitable proceeding, and it's just evolving into contentious litigation over collateral matters.
It should have been very simple.
Yeah.
Now listen, I need to get something straight with you between me and you. I sent you like a breakdown. It was like a preliminary, so the numbers are, but they're pretty close on what I thought, how I thought everything shook out. That was back in, I think it was either March or May. I think it was March. But you said, and I understand you were hot at the time at that depot, but you said you haven't you're trying to keep this case going. I've been trying to figure out a way to move it forward and just shine the light on everything and get it finished. And I've talked to Rhodes. I've said, I bet you I've got at least 10 communications with Rhodes, either email or letter or whatever, saying, hey, here's what we think it is. What and here's what we would, be willing to offer or whatever. What's James's, position? What's his position? And I've never, ever heard it. And so I don't like. I'm going to chalk it up to anger and that you didn't really mean it. Maybe it was something that had to do with that Chelsea depot or whatever. But I would hope that you would see that I have tried to figure out what who's responsible for what, and at least hold out the olive branch and say, hey, this is what I think it is. And even if you think it's or your client rather thinks it's ludicrous, then he can make a counteroffer. That's the way we do things, right?
No, not when my clients are idiots. I am absolutely stuck because I have unsophisticated clients. I don't know the sophistication of Tyler. I have not taken his deposition. I have no interest in getting into his criminal matters, his personal life, etc. I'm only interested in documents. And the problem, Chris, has been, from my perspective, is if we go back to those two depositions, remember that giant, you made all binders. But there's no, I've waited to find what is relevant. All I see is huge pieces of paper that may or may not mean anything. And I'm not being critical about how you took the depositions, but for example, $176,000 in out-of-pocket expenses. That would have been an interesting topic to ask my clients about at their depositions, like if that's possible or what have you. And there wasn't any of it. And I don't know why you do that. So from me, as a litigator, I take that from the standpoint of why wouldn't you ask him about that in deposition so that we can get that out and straight?
If you want,
etc. You didn't.
Is this rhetorical, or do you want me to answer? I can. No, it's fine. Listen,
it's rhetorical.
I don't get mad. I don't get mad at that kind of stuff, Eric. You know that. I'll answer your question if you want an answer. I'll tell you why we didn't get to really dig in there. If you really want to know, I'll be glad to tell you. You're talking about the expenditures that Tyler made out of pocket. There was a lot of discussion, and it's referenced in that motion that's pending, that summary disposition. A lot of discussion about what was reimbursable and what's not. Frankly, I mean, you got to see James's testimony on that is shit, basically. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Well,
James is an idiot, but I mean, that's
just the concept of it. That's not the particular entries. But so we talked about that. We talked about what's reimbursed. What do you know about work that he did, work that he didn't do, labor that he furnished, materials, etc. And he, of course, as with everything else, James. Well, I don't know anything what James says. Okay, that was in summer of and basically a year ago, because I think the last one was in October of last year.
Yeah.
And at this time, we're still trying to assemble this information. There was a preliminary kind of stab at that as an exhibit, but that wasn't. That was everything hadn't been, matched up with the property, and there were some entries in there that. Well, there were a lot of entries that Tyler had a way of kind of segregating out what he did for this company as opposed to his flooring, but there was a bunch of entries that he had to take out because they related to materials that he bought for the deck at the house and things like that. So went through and did a lot of elimination there, and there was a lot of time trying to get the receipts in order. So it's just a question of I didn't have the particulars completely crunched at that time, and candidly, every piece of discovery that I've gotten in this case has been like pulling teeth, unless Tyler already had it on hand. But anything I've tried to get from your clients has been, it's been difficult. It didn't need to be. I mean, should have happened. And but by the way, let me just throw this in before I forget. Last thing on the criminal, I just need to say this because I'll forget it if I don't. You know what is particularly troublesome is, as far as like I keep talking about collateral advantage in this case. It's not even a kind of like a suspicion or anything like that. Old Bruce Sewell in his very first round of pleadings put that stuff about Tyler front and center, and so he made it part of this, unfortunately, and I think that probably took things, it didn't probably. Sewell took this off the rails. It didn't need to go there. But in any event, that's one component of it. Obviously, Sewell thought and James thinks that Tyler's criminal matters will have some kind of significant impact on the outcome of this, and they've made that clear in the pleadings that are on file with the court. So anyway, let's say that. Anyway, back to the chart. That's all.
Yeah, I don't. And so who gives a fuck what Sewell did at the beginning? I mean, James will do what the fuck whoever his lawyer tells him to do. So if his initial lawyer gave him piss poor advice, then so be it.
Well, the best thing that happened to him is
I can't make up for, I can't change what Sewell did at the beginning. I can only try to resolve what I can resolve. But my patience has worn thin because, and it's not a personal issue, but my brain can't wrap around the concept of litigating something into the ground when all you need to do for the benefit of both parties is figure out who gets what and move on.
Well,
because
yeah.
I can't. I'm a bit. I mean, at its
but
heart,
I share your frustration though, because what I've had to do. Listen, I do, because it's not like he could pay me for the time I've got into this, because what we've had to do is go and find this information, but I've got the information needed to be able, if it's not direct, then I can at least, it's like a Sudoku puzzle or something, and you can fill in the blanks, and been able to come to a conclusion as to where the money went, all that, and it's been there, but there's been no movement. I mean, I'm waiting for Rose to do something. I'm waiting for James to say something. I've said, here's what we think it is, and so here's what we would like, and either tell us that we're wrong or tell us what you like. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Now, hang on one second, though. So let's figure this out. So what I'm trying to figure out then is what? Because I still stand on this. I am not going to engage in discovery on an equitable manner. I'm going to rely on Rose. I'll do it if I have to, but I don't want to. So I don't have the evidence of this input, because don't misunderstand me. I get James and Vicky and I don't know, what all they took in and out of the company. All I know is the records are for shit. And Tyler, through part of it, when he had problems with Vanessa, he had problems with alcohol, and he's resolved those. And I understand that's also one of the terrible things that Tyler has to deal with, is there's a period of time where he just wasn't paying attention to what was going on because of his issues with alcohol. And I've always told you I'm sympathetic to that. I am not, and nor will I ever use that as some kind of sword against him. So all I'm trying to figure out is, what the hell? Because they commingled these assets. They do these drying jobs, and then they'd insert it into the company. And I don't know if some of that money is due Tyler. It's very
I can tell you that
difficult.
everything that was put in to a CVI bank account from a drying job was taken right back out and paid to either James personally, Tyler personally, or Tyler to cover his materials and labor. And there's nothing. There was nothing lingering in the company. They just ran it through that bank account. That's it. That's all there is to it.
It kind of seems that way. They would kind of call that as a, capital insertion, and they would.
It really wasn't. They would yank it right back out. They would pull it right back out.
But you and I both know. Take for example, say we have a law firm. Shit. You bring money in, you take it out, blah blah blah. I mean, it's like they have the ability to do that.
Think of it like this: say we're a med mal defense firm or whatever, and we bill our clients hourly, me and you, and on the side we have a couple of 2 or 3 contingency cases, right? And we sell them up, and when the check comes in, we just put it in the account and then yank it right back out and split it, between the two of us. That's what it was. It was just a because really there weren't even that many drawing jobs. You can find all of them, except in the security bank account. I think there was like 6 or fewer, and then in the first bank in February of 16 or 17, there was the big one that is called Emerald Falls or something like that.
Emerald Falls, right?
Yeah. And so, but here's the thing, Eric, and I'll just say it, and then if you disagree, that's your prerogative. But what I've tried to do is, I can't convince you with just something that Tyler said. Oh, and by the way, in answer to your earlier question on the 176, every one of those entries is backed up with a receipt, not some handwritten bullshit, but like a at least on the materials, there's a material receipt, and then on the labor, those are backed up by checks or whatever. But I don't know.
Let me ask you a question though. On that, while we're on it, let me just ask you a question. We're talking about these 8 fucking properties, and actually many of them were not even in the company until 16, 17 or whatever. So basically up until 2017 there were 4 properties. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, as shitty as those properties are, how the fuck could he have spent all that money on these properties? There weren't major structural improvements to any of these things. That's what I'm baffled about, and why, and I'm just telling you, and why James and Vicky are like, that's fucking bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Which, this is you and me talking. We have to put our clients to the side, because you put the 3 of them together and you end up with a bunch of fucking nonsense about 90% of the time. So I'm literally trying to just find anything to hang my hat on.
That's the beauty of taking James and Vicky's depot, is because they testify that it's up and it's down, it's left and it's right. So basically you can pick and choose what you want, I guess. Whatever's good for you.
It's nonsense.
It's not even consistent.
It's just nonsense.
But what they did say, and I will tell you, I didn't know if you wanted another. I don't know how many entries are on there, but there's a lot. I didn't think you would want another, 300 or 400 pages. Although all that stuff has been produced to Rhodes long ago. Probably.
Yeah, and I called him.
Yeah, and did he say, hey, here it is?
No, he said he hasn't had fucking time to determine if they're valid or not. And I'm like, motherfucker, but that's where we are. So.
Well, here's don't even get me started on him. I don't even want to talk about that. But there are, I've got the records that support every single one of those entries. Okay, it's not
and
just.
Does he have documentation that these are expenses that were on a specific CVI property? How would he have that?
Well,
yeah, before.
It has what it what it relates to. Some of them had contemporaneous markings on there, and other ones he was able to say what was being worked on or what was being done, what they were doing here or there. And so, like as far as the materials go, it's evident from, what's being bought. If they're buying, a new, toilet or something like that. Okay. So, but in any event, it's got, each one of us has at least one, some have multiple, backing documents and is tied to one or more particular properties that are being worked on. And just, this may not completely answer your question, but you do remember James going on at length about how these properties, or some of these properties, when they got them, weren't even habitable when they got them.
Yeah.
And so,
well, the one, I know the one that they bought, and it maintained its uninhabitable status for a long period of time. But look, tell
me what you want to know, and I will do my best to tell you.
Well, this is just basically I have no outlet to get to the bottom of anything except talking to you, because talking to my clients is like talking to a couple of idiots.
Well, let me tell you.
If you say I ever said this, I will deny it until the end of time. But seriously, Chris, I will ask a question, and then I will get a 15-minute diatribe that is, if we were in deposition, I would be non-responsive.
I know that because that's what happened to me a lot in the first depo, and that's why in the second one I was a little more adamant about drilling down on it. But you don't have to try to convince me, because I know that's what happens, because it happened to me.
But I know we have the benefit of hindsight now. But Chris, if you and I had met before the deposition and you had given me all the exhibits and we could go through them and I could have directed them better. And because I didn't know, I still to this day don't know what the fuck all those binders were. I once had a box, but you took them back. And so I have no fucking idea what any of those
I've got everything
were.
I've got everything scanned. I'm trying to remember. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I don't remember if I took them all back or even what the circumstances of that were. But whatever it is, listen,
you asked me to bring them. Yes, you asked me to bring them back
for the next depot,
and
right?
Then, right, and then that's where they went. And so, and I'm not. Please don't think that I'm being critical, because I'm not. But
it's okay. But I'll tell you this:
it's difficult for me to try to digest everything because my clients cannot answer a simple question.
I will gladly give you. I've got all of those scans, and I'll put them on a disc. You can have them all. That's the one thing. I don't play games with discovery. I feel like just get it all on the table.
No,
both sides are going to have both sides of any case are going to have warts. Just get it out there and then just deal with it. Okay, but
that's what I've always told you. Yeah.
And I don't feel like necessarily that you've been trying to play hide the ball, but I don't feel like your clients have been forthcoming, because I couldn't. There's a lot of this stuff. Listen, you said it yourself. There's a lot of this stuff. There was a year there, or in a year, or in the calendar year 16, Tyler was fucking up. Okay, so there's kind of like this. It's kind of like a blackout, basically. It's an information blackout, and the only person that would have access to that info is your folks. Yeah. And so what I've had to do is I've had to go get from them, and you know what a pain in the ass it was to get discovery. And saying it point blank, I said, Rhodes said, I met with him, and he told me he's not going to look for this. He's not going to look for this. He doesn't give a shit about this over here. And I put that in motion a long time ago, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I said, that's why I need to do discovery. I asked for everything where I tried to narrowly tailor it in some areas. In other areas, I tried to get whatever I could that I thought would, have something responsive. I had to go through it, assemble it, crunch it, and it took a long time. But I wasn't getting the info from Rhodes. I wasn't getting the info from your clients, and Tyler could only provide so much of the info, and so I had to put it together. But I think now between so what was filed here is the disposition. That's saying on these issues, there's no dispute as to. I know you're going to have disagreement, but I'm tying it to testimony from your clients for the most part, and then so that deals with who basically the stuff we covered in the depots. Who paid for the properties? How did they adhere, if at all, to the operating agreement? And what else was talked about in there? It's been a month since I filed it.
Those are independent factual issues, but they don't relate to any of your counterclaims. Period. And so.
I
don't want to. But anyway, I
occupancy. That's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to file a response, but
what I'm trying to do is move it along.
Really, I mean, was literally for us to figure out, because here's what I think, and here's the conversation we've never had is like, okay, basically, how did these fucking people even meet? So, what? Tyler started dating their daughter, and they met in like a bar. Because I mean, look, Chelsea's deposition. That's the other thing. Did I get mad at you? Yeah, because if you'd have told me that on the front end, I would have walked away from this case a long time ago.
I didn't know that on the front end.
I'm not claiming that it's. Oh.
I didn't.
Oh. Okay.
And I certainly didn't know. That there was more than one. That it happened more than once.
Any kind of allegation like that, and I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. That's why I was so angry, and I still, and my apology remains intact. I apologize, but that's what, I mean, surprises like that, especially in light of my position, that I was extremely offended that came up. But that's not, that's water under the bridge, as we discussed, and I apologize again. But
you don't have to. We're good, okay? I mean, it's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Hatchet's buried. You don't have to apologize anymore. All right.
Okay. Let me go a step farther. So they meet, and then they start working together, and I'm guessing. So do you think like Vicky and James see Tyler as kind of this money machine, and so they're like, hey, we're gonna hook up with him to help, expand our little empire, this, that, and the other. And I get that from them because I've seen all the indebtedness that James has been involved in the past. So obviously, particularly financial wizard. My only question, and what you can do to make this, to assuage my fears, is as long as Tyler has legitimate backing for all this income he was earning, and we can go forward, I lean towards what you're talking about. It's like they're actually using Tyler to their advantage. They're trying to make a company, so they've done some things. But what I've noticed throughout the depositions is, what did James and Vicky always get back to about what their contribution is? Well, they put their credit on the line. And yes, that has some value, but I do understand your position. Tyler's providing all this cash because he's a cash guy. And my guess is, without any negative connotations, he ain't exactly making it right with the IRS. And you know what? I hate the fucking IRS, so I don't have a problem with that. But
well, he is now.
They're putting
you know that he's.
Is he in tax problems now?
Well, I don't know if it's a problem, but they wanted info,
penalties,
and so
shit.
He's already. What's the guy's name? Honeywell they've already gone through that whole thing and are dealing with it. So
on their way. Good.
Yeah, on the way to a
Good
resolution.
deal.
Good
deal.
So because the thing is, he would get a ton. I mean, he would get checks and cash them, but as you know, they track that, so they get the little tickler, and they know, and so then, but they didn't know like exactly what it related to. So I mean, he had that info, and they're going back and fixing all that. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, it was his money. I mean, he wasn't pulling it out of just pulling it out of the air,
No, I know.
These were expenditures. So, well, tell me what you want to know and what we can do to get it going. I mean, here's the thing. I kind of hate that. I understand why you got bigger fish to fry. I understand why you are talking about getting out of this deal, but I've really shudder at the thought of somebody else coming in and trying to make sense of it and starting from the ground up. All I've tried to do, and some days you seem to be more accepting of days you think there's something nefarious, but honestly, Eric, all I've tried to do is get the info so I can assemble it and say, here's what I think the lay of the land is, and this is, because Rhodes isn't doing it, okay?
I know.
And so I did it for him.
I think that's what breaks my heart more than anything else, because I'm not an accountant. I have a financial mind if someone shows me the track record. And what I've always waited for and what I always thought, and call me stupid for assuming it, because now that we're 2 years past, I think even I am stupid. I thought Rhodes is an accountant. He's going to take all these bank records and receipts, and then he's going to put a big fucking spreadsheet to put in front of both of us, and it's going to be actual black and white. I'm going to go, if I can go back to Mike and go, look at these figures. You can't dispute these, blah, blah, blah. And that has never happened. So what I'm left with is the endless ramblings of James Hanning on and on and on and on. I do not know what powers that guy to continue to talk nonstop, unresponsively. I don't know.
It's called filibustering is what you call it.
Good God.
Well, yeah.
And I've deliberately not. That's why I didn't take Tyler's deposition, because between you and I thought, what will happen is that I will ask questions and get into issues that will end up prolonging the litigation, causing people to have hurt feelings, this, that, and as some kind of demonic presence or whatever. I don't. I just see a guy who's trying to make sure he's not getting ripped off. And at the same time, I got James and Vicky, and I'm trying to make sure they don't get ripped off legitimately, because I'm not claiming that they are, but I have to make sure that they don't get ripped off, or I'm not doing my ethical duty. Yeah.
Well, let some quick hits real quick. Number one, on the credit issue, the bottom line is, you saw how the homes, or the realty, I should say, was acquired, and that was cash money that Tyler had. Okay, so that and then the 10 that James put in, and they already had that one that they gave. Okay, so that's that. And then with respect to the credit, what did they acquire on credit? Those mobile homes, but some of those, I think the more expensive ones, were after they were relying on. I mean, James' credit isn't stellar because he had these foreclosures and stuff.
No.
So how was he able to do that? And that by that time, this company, I mean, he's pointing to the company assets, and he may or may not, I can't remember honestly as I sit here, have gotten involved with Pam and Ray Wood by this point as well. But he can point to all this stuff as, well, I've got all this, but really, I mean, so he's claiming that he has all this collateral, but really it's what Tyler put up. So I don't really know what the value of his credit is, but I understand that's what their position is. And so
I'm just and I'm not making a representation as to it has a certain value. I'm just saying what they're telling me and blah blah blah, so that you can understand where they're coming from. And then the other issue that they time period, some of the expenses. So what they remarked to me, and again, I'm not attributing any value to it. What they remarked to me is during the time period that Tyler had some of these issues with alcohol, is that he always had these workers that worked for him. And when he came to do work on a job, he didn't do the work himself. He had his workers do it, and he paid them, and so on and so forth. But they weren't, it's like, instead of going to do a job that he could have done, he and James could have done himself, Tyler would bring 3 or 4 of his workers, and then, now he's trying to get, a reimbursement for that expense when they were really unfair. And, that's just what they say. I'm not claiming that is accurate or inaccurate. But, I guess,
if
the substantial amount of the reimbursements are, contract labor of people that worked for him, then the question becomes, under the operating agreement, did or was there agreement or authorization by the parties for that? Because if there wasn't, then that's in violation of the operating agreement, and so on and so forth. Again, throwing those arguments out, though, what I need to know and what I'm trying to figure out is, how the fuck do we cut this piece of shit thing up? That's all I care about.
Let me say one more thing. Sorry, Chris. I know it's frustrating to you because you say, God damn, can I get a counter offer from James and Vicky? The problem is that I have as a lawyer is they're so fucking stupid that they can't put a basis for a counter offer together. So I'm forced with, I assumed that Rhodes was going to be able to do this. I'm not
as
sure
the receiver.
I'm not sure you can chalk it up to stupidity, though. I think you have to chalk it up. I think you have to chalk it up to what the facts are. They don't have the.
I know.
Okay, so that's the problem. Now the stupidity comes into play whenever you say, "Hey, you don't. Where's the beef?" Basically, and they come up with nothing, but they still want, whatever.
They go on and on and on. I know.
That really is the issue here is. And it's not any comment on your lawyering or anything like that. I'm just saying that man, this phone's beeping in my ear.
My lawyering on this has been substandard at best. Once I went back to work full time, my focus is on. I got dead people. I got homicide cases.
Cherokee County, man. There's bodies all over the place in Cherokee County.
There's shit going on. And so this is a thorn in my side, having unsophisticated clients who
I think they're waiting. I think they're waiting for Rhodes to do something because they candidly can't. They can't.
They are.
And so they need him to.
No, they can't.
Yeah. And so they need him to do it.
You're dead.
He's not. So the reason why I filed this is not to just find something else to do, but what I'm saying is, well, let's figure out what is in play and what's not. Because if Rhodes isn't going to do anything about it, and candidly, I don't have a lot of assurance.
And I know.
Yeah. And I don't like him saying.
You suggested this. I know. You suggested it, and I was like, I'm waiting for Rhodes, and now I'm done waiting for Rhodes. So you're right. You and me have to figure this fucking thing out.
Well, I don't like him to say it's whatever I want it to be. Well, no, because we're still bound by what the evidence is and all that. And if he came up with something that just went completely afield, just went rogue and ignored the evidence to the detriment of your client, you'd say something, and the same thing on my end. And I'm just like, well, let's figure out what's at issue and what's not. And if we can say, well, these things aren't an issue, let's take them off the table and say they're decided roads. You don't even have to mess with it because he's not messing with anything. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years, buddy.
Well, and the only thing I can think about is Rhodes looks at this like, okay, I got two parties. Basically, all I need to know, I'm with you in the sense that, you know what he's done? He's basically decided, I'll get these two parties together and I'll say, how many times has he told this to you?
Oh, my gosh, the chips.
And me. How many chips do you have? I mean, motherfucker. It's like, yeah, but guess what? If Chris and I wanted to settle it that way, we'd hire a fucking mediator and be done in an afternoon.
Or just sit down together and hash it out.
Yeah. So,
well,
I'm with you on that. I know it's frustrating. And all I need to know, and maybe if there is a set of, and I mean not something that you've created, and I don't know how, if there are some documents, bank records, receipts, whatever, that are most at issue in terms of Tyler's contribution, anything that you can provide me, and this is, again, you don't have to mark it, you don't have to, I'm just saying.
I will make anything,
something.
Aside from my own notes and thoughts, I will give you whatever I have. I have no problem with that. I don't need a formal discovery request, okay? You just ask me, and I will give it to you.
Yeah, give me something, a packet of documents and or receipts, something that I can use so that I can go back and say, this is concrete evidence, James and Vicky, and this, that, and the other. And then I think I can begin the process of pulling them back. I don't know what world they live in, because I sure don't fucking live in that world. I have a hard time communicating with them because I can't get a direct answer. They go on and on about collateral matters.
Well, I will tell you this.
It's just like ridiculous.
Hey,
but between you and I mean,
something happened, and it was listen, I don't even want to get into the details of it. It was a mess.
Why not?
But because you already know. I don't have to when I tell you what I'm talking about, you'll be like, oh yeah, that. But the sanction and the discovery order, the sanction order, sweat equity is off the table now.
Yeah,
I mean,
$10,000 anyway.
Yeah. So if that's what they're hanging their hat on, it's unless they want to take that up on a writ or something like that, it's not even an issue. So that what I was trying to do is
Chris.
No, I don't. And the thing is, it was with respect to records, backing things up on the acquisition of the properties and things like that. I attached those. Okay, I didn't attach every single receipt because that would have been another. However many entries there are.
I know.
But I will give it to you. I'm
trying to find. So they had some handwritten notes, and that's what I was trying to figure out. Maybe the starting point, and I think you were given that in discovery. Let me pull that one fucking weird ass sheet.
Did you get that thing? It's not the best. It's not the most, best put together because I was just trying to get something on paper. But you did get that thing I sent in? I think I want to say March 22nd. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I remember yes, I did get that. I don't remember exactly what it says, but let me pull out. I mean, I remember part of it. The only. Let me see here. God, I hate having to fucking wear reading glasses now.
While you're doing that, you can probably answer this question. You know what the problems with the operating agreement, failure to adhere to it, and all that is. I mean, there's a million different ways that could go legally. So I've always wondered, how in the world Because those are either mixed questions of fact and law or pure legal questions. How does Rhodes how well they involve legal conclusions, even though it is equitable, I guess. And if it is a matter of equity, that would make things really easy, to be honest with you.
I think it's a matter of equity because it's a dissolution.
But I'm just saying, how can Rhodes say what the legal effect of that document is when he's not even a lawyer?
He's not a lawyer. Yeah. Well,
because I'm a lawyer and I'm having a hard time figuring it out.
Well, because it's a
piece of shit.
Pull back from being a lawyer for a second and think about if you and a buddy of yours were to put a lawn mowing business together, do you guys think you'd sit around and be like, I have a resolution, let's meet? I mean, no.
Well, you wouldn't say
these guys are drinking buddies.
You wouldn't do an operating agreement either, like for real. You just say, well, hey, here's one.
Exactly.
Let's just change the names and we'll do that because it's obvious. They don't even know what the hell's in it. They certainly didn't abide by it, and so.
Fuck yeah.
And
I agree.
Those issues are out there. You know, I've said
those same issues would be out there for Tyler as well. I mean, that's why I say what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. So that's why I think we end up spinning our wheels unless we put our heads together and figure out what's equitable.
Well, that's the
thing.
Between
you and I think
Tyler,
I really do. Because, one of these, that's funny, the reliance on sweat equity and all that and how this all started, you and I both know that was so important to James and Vicky because they knew that Tyler had contributed the lion's share of the cash.
They say it point blank.
Operation. Right.
You know what? Listen, let me just tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you in a Reader's Digest, 2 sentences, maybe 3. Here's what happened: is Tyler was checked out. He was going to therapy. He was talking to his therapist, and he was telling her these things. And she says, "Well, maybe I'll look into this over here." He starts asking questions. Okay. Well, then. As soon as it's been in the pleadings, when he starts asking questions, James starts withdrawing. Well, let's get the thing sold. You saw where James said he was going to pay Tyler $320 over so long.
$320, yeah.
And so they, that was something they had talked about. Then Tyler said, right in conjunction with that, he says, "I want to see the operating agreement. I want to see the books." Mm-hmm. And it was at that point when he said he wanted to see this stuff, which they didn't have or didn't have in the order that they. It wasn't going to be necessarily, glowing for the handings. I am convinced, Eric, that what happened is they filed this thing on September 14th with the thought that Tyler, having the problems that he's had in the past and being largely unsophisticated, he would say, "Oh man, I don't want, okay, I want a lawsuit, to kind of force his hand at it, or maybe even get an advantage of it." But I don't think that they thought. There's no doubt about it. They never thought that he would come back and say bullshit and hit back. I don't think they ever counted on that. I think I don't even think they wanted to do the lawsuit. I think it was an effort to make him go away or make him take what they wanted him to take. Okay, it's the only thing that makes sense.
You may be right. I don't claim to know James and Vicky. I don't socialize with them. Never have, and never will. You may well be right.
Good move.
So getting past that, we just have to figure out. So one of the things in discovery, they got this. You remember the spiral notebook issue?
Yeah.
And the only thing we have is this remaining. It's a copied of, interestingly enough, a spiral notebook, and it's got all of these James category and then Tyler, and it's all fucked up in the sense of it's not organized, but it says total payments to James $15,300, and then it says total payments to Tyler $47,000 and change or thereabouts. So we have some of these pieces.
What is that?
It's in the packet of discovery materials produced in response to your
hang on.
written
Let me get
request.
Let me get it up in front of me, and then we'll be talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is while I'm pulling this up, look, you don't even have to comment. They had the notebook. That's where the info is. They don't want to give it over. They were keeping track. There's no way they could file these small claims actions or whatever, claiming stuff to the penny without knowing, who paid what. But I call
I don't
bullshit
like
on
it
it, but
either. I don't
understand
know.
where you are.
Yeah.
Okay, Paulson. Let's see. I'm looking for the
from a
discovery.
lawyer standpoint, because I've told them, I said, if you're fucking withholding anything, and I'm pretty much a dick, and all I can do is respond the way that
I will say this.
We don't.
You can say what you want, but you are a damn good lawyer. She pulled a rabbit out of the hat on that one, because I thought they were fucked just by their testimony that they had this blah blah blah, and now it's gone. Okay, do you know? So how far down? Wait, let me see if I can find this. Is it right after the pictures? I've got everything scanned in order.
Yes, it's like it's pretty close after the pictures. So they have the pictures, then there's the emails with regard, and then there's the spreadsheets, and then that single.
Oh, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a notebook, and it says James, date, Tyler, check number, date. Okay, yes, I'm looking at it. All right. So what is this? Let's see. This, I'll tell you what I think this probably is this is him trying to run the numbers on, if you go to the page, now I'm getting the spinning wheel of death. Hang on. Don't do that. If you go to the page right below or right above it, for those little charts on 16 and 17, and don't do this. This document is so huge it slows things down.
Spinning.
Hang on. But it's a couple pages up, and it's the one where it says payments. It's a clean version on a computer, and I think it just deals with 2017, and actually that would support this here, because these, as you see on the handwritten. Okay, so I'm going up. Well, there's a quicker way to get to this. I've got it as a separate exhibit, and that way I don't have to wait for this thing to buffer. Oh wait, there it goes. Maybe. Nope. Okay, hang on a second. Let's see.
Yeah, my clients are so dumb. As an aside, you look at some of these spreadsheets. Remember in the written discovery, like naming renters and so on, every responses.
Which the
yeah, they got
contract.
Like the 2017. They got Mandy Martin, Jennifer Womack, Sarah Bassford. I never saw those names in their responses to written discovery.
Well, that's the thing, is they just did an Olay.
God, they're ding dongs. There's some of no, I don't want to disparage them, but they are the worst clients I've ever had. But anyway.
I think hang on a second. I think I'm close to putting my hands on what I'm looking for. Okay, yeah, here we go. I think this is it. Let me pop this open. Yeah, this has got to be it. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is, I'm looking at, I think this may have been, let me make this bigger. So, all right. It's you look at it in landscape. So if you were holding it like a normal piece of paper, you have to turn it sideways. And on one side it says capital venture payout at the top. And then
capital
it says
venture payout.
Yeah, real little kind of to the left above the chart part. And just there's months along the left edge, and it's divided. The page is divided in two. It says James on one side, Tyler on the other, and at the bottom it says $18,800 draw on James's side. It says 17 and change draw on the Tyler side. You want me to Just send it to you. I'll just send it to you. Here, let me email it to you. Hang on a second.
You can't. You know, this is one of the bad things about living in the country. Windstream decided to go down, so right now I have no freaking internet access.
Well, hey, there's a hack to that, and I'm gonna do it right now. Okay, so let me. I'm gonna have to put the phone down, but hang on just a second.
Sure.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Now, if you can just, I don't know how you're going to do it exactly, but I sent it to your cell phone, so you may have to put me on speaker to see it, but you've got it, or it'll be coming your way shortly anyway.
All right, let me see. So this is off of their responses or documents that they
This is something that they gave to Rhodes, that the Hannings gave to Rhodes, and I got from Rhodes. We talked about it at the depot, but these are checks written in. Basically, I think this is the cleaned up version of what that notebook page you were looking at is trying to, what he's trying to figure out there, because they're all 2017, and there's check numbers, and they're trying to figure out who was paid what and what it went for and all of that. So I think they go hand in hand. I think the workup of it was on the notebook page, and then this is the final product. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of this was, rather than other than James to say this is what I think was draw to show that they took equal draw. That's what it was. That is what it is. He knows that they took all these draws, like 4,000 for a Jeep and all this other stuff, and so he's trying to show that the draws were even in 17. That's what I get.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. It is kind of like a spreadsheet breakdown of that handwritten sheet.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm not exactly sure how we got on that, but that with respect to the notebook page, well, I guess there is a spiral out there that says something, right?
Well, it was. And they produced it to Bruce, but it was a copy of a spiral book. So, their contention that the book no longer exists may actually be accurate, but, I'm not going to go out on any kind of limb because I don't know these people. I don't know them from Adam, and I don't intend, as I said before, to get to know them. So, corporate client, like a hospital client where, they tell me, look, we don't have it. I feel comfortable in saying that. I don't know.
I will tell you
people.
This would prompt the disposition motion, which was put together through looking at the contracts, right? The occupancy based on the work that was done, the small claims actions that were filed, and other knowledge that he had or that the Hannings had. But anyway, look at the occupancy, and then plug in the rates. Look at what was paid and what was deposited with the bank, and then you can kind of, basically you take out what deposited during the first 13, 14, 15, and 16. They were legitimately holding back some of the cash income. They were some of that is okay, and it says so on that thing I sent you on March 22nd. But they were holding back a little bit more than they were supposed to, and I from what I can, as I recall, I may be off, but I think on that part of it, the Hannings had about 40,000 extra that they held back that they shouldn't have. Okay, that they were they could hold back like 52. Well, it would be. Hang on a second. 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So basically, 4.5 years whatever that is, 52, 54 months times 1,000, they could hold back 54,000 legit, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tyler's is accounted for partially by they were able to hold back a little bit more because that was considered his payment for the house for that month, and then they would make the payment, so they could hold back his too, hold back additional cash rent payments that would have gone to Tyler and apply that towards the house payment, you see. And what was left over was about 40,000 there. Then there was about another, I could be wrong on it, it's on that chart, about another 40,000 in expenditures that were using the company money for personal. And look, it's going to happen here and there, that's fine, but I think probably what happened is, as you know, I mean, you're a criminal attorney, you know, usually a lot of it's based on opportunity and comfort. And so, having his substance issues, they see more opportunity, and they get a little greedier, and they take a little bit more. And I think that's probably how it got to this level. I think they probably still saw him coming, you know, when he first arrived on the scene. They're like, hey, this is a young kid, not particularly sophisticated, has cash that's burning a hole in his pocket. Let's see what we can do. But then, as things developed.
Well, you know, my experience in 22 years with embezzlers, you know what unilaterally the motivation is that the person who has the opportunity feels that they're doing all the work to maintain the operations of the company, make readies, finding new, and this is hypothetical. This is not something my clients have ever told me, but it's just something that I've put together in my head is trying to figure out what I think may have happened. So James and Vicky start feeling like, well, Tyler's basically drinking all the time. He's not doing this, that, and the other. And I'm not talking about through the whole operation, but, you know, in the operative time period where this all went to shit is 2016. So he's got problems with that crazy-ass fucking mother of his kid. Then he's drinking. And so they start thinking, we're doing all the work. We're doing everything. And then they start dipping into the kitty.
Right.
That's usually what the primary motivation for embezzlers is, except for, you know, those that just steal.
Well, then
they just think, I'm doing all the work, and so I deserve this extra money. And you may well be right. I'm not claiming, because obviously they've never told me that, nor if they did, to say, fucking A, we finally made a breakthrough.
You know, here's the thing, though,
but,
they wouldn't even have the opportunity to do that had Tyler not supplied all of the property to rent out in the first place.
No, I know. It was, and that's why, you know, we can talk till we're blue in the face, but ultimately, we just have to figure out.
Well, we don't even have to worry about that
what
now
does Tyler
because the sweat
want?
equities. Well, at this point,
yeah. What does he want?
Well,
that's all I'm trying to.
What he wants and what he would offer
are two.
What he wants and what he would offer are two different things. But I think at this point, look, you want to play the chip game. It's the handings are
apparently
upside down.
We have no choice. Yeah,
handings are upside down. If they were smart, this is my belief. You can disagree, but I firmly believe if they were smart, they would say, "Let's do a walk away, give us a release of liability, and just with it." That's what they should do. Really,
well,
they
that's
should.
That's not going to happen.
Now there is.
That's not going to happen.
Well,
because
okay, let's break it.
Well, no, wait. Let me point out one thing. The whole reason
for
putting their personal house that Tyler resides into the kitty
I wasn't
was
talking
in
about,
hopes of trying to.
I wasn't.
So
that I wasn't talking about the personal house. I was just talking about the 8 properties, the 8 CVI properties.
No.
The personal house, that just confuses things. But
oh God,
I mean,
I know
it makes things
it's
more
in
difficult.
there.
But
here's the only reason that was in there was to try to make up for the the lopsidedness of the fact that Tyler put all this money up. And I had them at the beginning of this, and I still think I do, structured in the standpoint of the realization that Tyler put the majority of the capital into this venture. And so they're, as we've all talked about, you know, they're all focused about these little day-to-day things that they did. Okay, that's fine and dandy, la-di-da.
Do they understand that's off the table now?
It's off the table, exactly. And so ultimately, all we have to figure out is, what the fuck are we going to, I mean, is there,
well, but
like,
let me,
if
hang on.
Tyler kept their house, say he kept their house, that gives them at least maybe one or two properties to make up for that. And I mean, if we're in the standpoint that he keeps their house and I can get him to walk away with, you know, 2 or 3 properties, that may be the best we can fucking hope for.
Well,
it may not be completely equal, but it may get us.
Let's do this. Let's. It's kind of like whenever you go buy a car, you never want to let them know you're doing a trade-in until after you get the price settled. So let's just treat it like that. And the trade-in here is the house. So we're gonna set that over to the side and talk about these 8 real quick, okay? There's no question about as far as the dirt goes, and if there was an existing structure on it that's still there, we know who paid for what. There's no question about it. We've got that pinned down tight. There's
a little question, because every time I bring up, or you bring up, I should say an emotion or whatever, that Tyler paid a certain amount of money, then James always brings up these fucking drying jobs.
Well, hang on. We're getting to all that. So let's take it issue by issue.
Sorry.
The dirt,
sorry.
Okay? And that's not even including the mobile homes. It's just the dirt, and if there was a house on it that's still on it, that too. We know what was. I went back through and made sure I got it to the penny of what was paid for each one. Now, the only thing I don't know is with respect to property 2, I don't know how much the Hannings originally paid for that. However, I do know that when they gave Tyler a 50% ownership in it, he paid $30,000 for it, so it's at the time of acquisition. So we need to value it at $30,000. That's the only thing we can value it at. Otherwise, he either bought more or less than 50% share in it.
But isn't that the one that they bought? I think that's the one where the fucking stickler is the stupid. They bought the mobile homes to put on it.
Well, the thing, okay, I'll get to that. But just with respect to, it's 21441, I think, is the property, maybe. It's property 2, I know that. It's property number 2. And they had it beforehand, and they were renting it out, too, I think. And, I'm not going to even say. I don't know where I found it, but I did find some money orders that Julie Arnold had done to pay for her either rent or judgment. I can't remember at what point it came, and James took it, and he was. And this is at a point when everything was supposed to be above board, and he would stick it in his own account. Something slipped through the cracks, and I got a hold of that from the bank. I didn't even know I had it. So anyway, I'll show you that. But anyway, back to the. Well, who put the money in? Well, then you've got the mobile homes, okay? And here's the thing. So Tyler said this is what I put into it, and that's subject to being, scrutinized by you, either depositionally, documentary, whatever. But what we do know is that, he's saying that that's money he never has recouped. We do know. James says, we have not put any money in that we haven't been reimbursed. He says it.
No.
Okay,
I know. I don't disagree.
As far as the mobile homes goes, it's undisputed. He's never paid any money out of his own pocket for those mobile homes. So
I think he said that he paid it out of. I know, and that's where, between you and I, that's where. Remember how I said I can't get a direct.
He did try to say that. He goes, "Well, I've got these. I got these over here. Go look at. Hey, just go look at the. I've got it separated off. It's topically organized. Go look at the backup citations on that.
No,
And
he said he paid for it out of CVI account, out of the CVI account, and that's where I get confused, is because he keeps talking about it like he and Vicky
paid their own
paid
money
for
out.
it out of their personal account. But
And
his
I've got
deposition testament, I know.
Right. So
I'm not arguing with you on
I think
that.
he's stuck with his sworn testimony, which actually matches
I think
with
he should be.
the facts. Because otherwise, I don't see money coming out of his account. I don't see money. I don't see him putting up the dough for it. We know it's
The only issue is the timing. Was that paid for before they incorporated or not? And I don't remember. I'm sure he'll have. I hate to even speak to him because it'll be like a 3-hour diatribe, and at the end I'll be left with nothing.
Here's the deal. Their sworn testimony is that, and I ask you specifically, you didn't pay any money out of your own pocket for this mobile home. No, and I ask him with respect to all 5 of those.
No,
so go check it out.
Yeah.
So we know that he's not owed any on that, okay, and we know what he's put in as far as the dirt, okay, and he says he doesn't have anything that he put up in terms of labor and materials he hadn't been reimbursed for. So, and we know sweat equity's off the table. So
right.
what does he have? And then, okay, so that's the lay of his land. Now on Tyler's side of the ledger, you know what he paid for the dirt. It's the same. He did put in money for some of the mobile homes, but it's I think he is like a capital infusion. It's accounted for in there somewhere. You'll have to look at it. There's no double dipping. I can tell you that. Then you know what he says that the materials and labor were. So that's his view of the lay of the land. And I've got the only thing that's really I think really is subject to being tested right now is just that 176 or whatever it is.
Well, that is,
because,
and then the additional question that we haven't talked about was the amount of distributions that were taken. In other words, even though I agree that Tyler put in the lion's share of money, the only question is, because James, and I'm only repeating topics that James continually talks about because in the interest of settlement, it makes the most sense so that you understand. I'm not trying to hide anything. So James is always talking about how Tyler took these huge distributions, $50,000 here, that, and the other trouble. But whether that equates to what James and Vicky took is obviously the issue that I was hoping Rhodes would be able to help us with, and apparently he's sat on his fucking hand.
No, and I'll tell you, the only time that you can see, first off, he was putting that kind of money in. You can see it if you go look at the bank records. He's dropping the cash in. But the only time it was taken out in a big amount was whenever I think it was on that Emerald Falls job. It was either that or Chris Baker maybe, I don't know, but I think it was Emerald Falls. And so James took his chunk. Tyler got there was like a $3,000 and then a $12,000 was considered a draw or whatever, and then the big check. It even says on there, this is for labor and material. So it was just that wasn't even, that was painting
so
back for
what
he put up.
2817. I've got $12,000, and it says labor drying equipment, and then I've got Tyler Paulson draw 228, which is the same date, 12,000 even, and that says member draw. So it looks like they've delineated 12,236.56 as labor and drying equipment, and then 12,000 as a draw. So I'm with you. I'm just trying to relate it all. And then 227, one day before, I have a member draw.
I do know this.
For 15,000.
He put up 25,000 of his own dough to pay off the. That's what it is. I remember now. Okay, those weren't draws. Those were reimbursements. He put up $25,000 to pay off those two 4,100 and 50/50 mobile homes, and that's the payout that you see there, the 12 and 12. That's a straight reimbursement for the cash he put up on the purchase of those mobile homes. That's why it's not listed on the deal, because he was reimbursed for it. The $3,000 is a draw, and then the other $12,236.56 is the payment for the labor. I don't know what he's talking about on overpayment. I don't understand what that's about. But the 12 and then the 15 less the $3,000 draw, the 12 and the 12, that I can show you where he put the cash in, and this is just paying him back for it. It's true. And so he got the $3,000 draw, and that was it. The other 12 was a reimbursement for the labor and such. I mean, I may have it. I don't know if I have it.
No invoice, member draw.
Do you have the Security Bank? I don't know if I attached it on there or not, but do you have the Security Bank records anywhere?
Some of them. I don't have all of them.
Hang on, let me see real quick. Well, listen. For right, I'll just send it to you, but I'll send you where Tyler dropped the $50K in there. I mean, it shows 50 cash, and this was.
It does show 50 cash, and I saw that, and then I see the wire transfer of 63,000 from the drawing job, and that is what causes everything to get fucked up, because you're like, what the fuck is going on? Between you and me, both of these two guys, and nothing against, I'm not pissing on Tyler or anything, but Tyler in business with James and Vicky, it's like the Three Stooges of putting money in and out and not really paying attention to what the hell's going on. They didn't run this as a business. It's just.
I just don't. I don't think that they ever thought that. They thought Tyler was too out to lunch to ever really.
I don't think they're. Don't be too. I mean, I don't think that they're that malicious.
I wouldn't say that just from the jump. I'm just saying it based on. Look, you're going to say, well, I haven't got to do Tyler yet. He may be as bad. Actually, he's not. And if you need to depose him, you can. I know you don't want to, but you can. I don't think he has any credibility, because it's all over the place. It's inconsistent, and it's just. I mean.
Yeah, but if I took Tyler's deposition, you really think he would be consistent?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I was
really?
Surprised. I didn't know him from Adam. Yeah, he's been. Everything he said from day one has been spot on, and even when I didn't have the records to back it up, when I finally got it, I was like,
maybe I should have taken his deposition. Maybe that would have shut these two fucking people up.
Well,
being James and Vicky.
I mean, I don't know if you obviously you wouldn't tell me, but I don't know if you commented on their depots. But I know that when you and I walked out of there, we thought that, hey, we've kind of solved a big piece of the puzzle right here. We see a lot more, and we knew also. You don't have to say anything, but we knew where the testimony that doesn't make. I mean, for instance, he's going to say we didn't do reimbursements. Well, then what? Look at this piece of paper right here, and it says reimbursement. They're both.
I know it says it. I know.
It's not credible. It's not. I don't know if it's stupidity or malice or probably a little bit of both. But
I think it's stupidity. Although I'm very curious about if I had the time to talk to Chelsea off the record, so I could find out, because that thing, I'm like, what is the story of the Hannings? I mean, that is like.
Well, I feel sorry for that girl, because apparently her biological dad didn't do anything about it either, And
but
her mom.
I've rarely come across a case, except for people with major substance abuse problems or what have you, that if an 8-year-old child goes to them with an allegation like that, they end up at the police department. So I don't know.
Well,
again,
it's got to fuck her in the head that her mom wouldn't go to bat for her. She says she told.
Well, if it's true, I mean, all they do is tell me that she's a pathological liar, this, that, and the other. But my only retort to that, which I didn't say out loud, is really you're going to suggest that an 8-year-old girl is a pathological liar? Because my experience has been that it would be an extreme rare occurrence that an 8-year-old girl would be a pathological liar. So again, that's
even so,
that's water under the bridge.
The apple doesn't fall from the tree. Hey, listen, on the bus, maybe just looking confined to the facts of this case, you say, well, I don't know, it could go either way. I'll err on the side of not malicious. But then when you throw in all the stuff that's going on with the criminal, I think that's got to wait. Just as you're assessing it as a lawyer would.
It bothers.
You would say, why?
Chris, it bothers me. A county commissioner. Now, again, this is small area, small town, and I've seen people get elected to positions, and then all of a sudden they think they have power. But as a member of the law enforcement community, I'm going to tell you that whatever he did, if he did anything that spurned into action DA's offices in prosecuting Tyler, I'm going to ensure, no matter what I have to do, but back channel, since my office is not involved, but I will back channel it and ensure that nothing happens, because it shouldn't, as a matter of principle. Whatever his offense was, and it's a technical violation. And
it's been 2 years and he's been clean.
Yeah.
Clean. I mean, this guy's turned his life around, Eric.
You're preaching to the choir. You don't even have to. Yeah. You don't have to.
We've all had. Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen. So he's made a life change. I mean, he hasn't touched a drop for 2 years of anything.
That's fine. I just want, I cannot say with certainty, because I'm not involved. But you got to understand, after 22 years, I know everybody, and
let me throw this at you.
I'm going to do what I can to ensure, and I believe that I will be able to get. Okay, now those things resolved.
Don't let this rub you the wrong way, and I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying. I think we're having a productive discussion, so I'm just going to say, you have told me that before, and I haven't
done anything.
So I would like you to really try to do that, because that would be great if we could get that thing knocked out.
I need to. Well, it would get him calmed down, because Tyler is still nervous and scared, and I've got to get him calmed down. So I've got to get on that when I get back to the office. But all I can do is back channel, because my office isn't officially involved. But I'm going to talk to Donnie and Bob.
Well, the one thing you do have, which might get you a little traction, you would know more than me, is that you were the original prosecutor on the deal.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but listen, Shook knows that what the allegation is in that the criminal thing about the apt accelerator. He knows what that is. He also has sat through all of Vanessa's bullshit. All right.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to believe that he would, after all that shit with Vanessa, he didn't want to see that bitch ever again. From what I can glean, he would not give Tyler full-time custody, full-time except for 4 days a month of that little girl, if he was going to turn around and put him in the clink for this, because he's over both cases.
Yeah. And why do you think I gave him a deferred in the first place on a charge that serious? If it were absolutely 100%, everything she said is gold, he would have been going to prison. After I met with her, I was like, what a fucking nut job. And so I had to parse that and go, all right, well, the one thing I do know is that the SWAT team had to go in, and so something happened, and so that's why we ended up with the result that we ended up with. So
I will tell you this also.
Yeah,
you asked earlier about why, does James have James didn't have the suck that he thinks he has, but there is this. This is legit. It's true. You don't have to comment on it if you don't want to, but go check it out with Jack. When Vanessa got into some shit, it was.
I read her shit in Tulsa.
James was the go-between. He did. I mean, I don't know if Tyler asked him to do it or if he did it on his own or both, whatever. But got with Jack or Joy or somebody over there. I think Joy may have been over there at the time. And there's that. I can't remember if it was brought the charges against Vanessa or that's the reason why they were going so hot and heavy on what was a pretty flimsy, assault in front of a child, a charge, but it was. You
mean when Vanessa was charged? Or?
Yes. Or whenever Tyler was in good graces.
Because she had her drug charges in Tulsa too, which I found and read the police report. And not everything is public. I think some of that stuff's been expunged. So, you would still be able to see it though, I guess, law enforcement. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, she is a fucking drug dealer. I mean, a pill dealer.
Oh,
she got caught red-handed dealing Xanax out of a Walmart.
Hey, this discovery that the records you're on, I just remembered. I got a ticket. I got a ticket on the way back from church Sunday.
You did?
Yeah, in Wagoner County. I was flying too, and I told my son who was with me. I was on the turnpike, so the barriers there. I go, he's going to turn around because I was going. Oh shoot, I was probably going over 100, but it was.
Jeez.
Well, people were moving. And but I think I probably he said he clocked me at 98 or something like that. So I must have pumped the brakes or whatever. But I know, I had to get back to get somebody to the airport. So I just barely got him there on time. But nonetheless, the cop was cool, and I told him, I was like, you know what, I was looking for you. I knew you were going to turn around. So as soon as I saw him come up, I just went in and got over. I knew that he was coming for me, and so I think he appreciated that. And I said, so can you do? So yeah, really, can you? Because I mean, I guess if it was a couple of miles over, he could have arrested me if he wanted to. So or something, but
he could have, but they usually don't.
Man, if we could get it to drop to under, is it 10 or under 10 that goes not on your record?
It's 0 to 10.
0 to 10.
It's not on your record.
Well, he wrote it for 15. So.
Oh, he did. Well, that's not bad.
No, he took care of that, but I would still pay the full 15 fine if I could get it. I'm not saying not like I'm in a position to bargain.
Payment of the court fund, and you saying that's Wagoner County?
Yeah. I'll send you a copy of the ticket. I just got it Sunday, so where is the thing? I think it may be in my car. But I'll send it to you.
I'll have them do a court minute. Yeah, I'll have Bennett or Haley do a court minute. And we'll knock it to 0 to 10, and then make a court fund distribution or something, so it'll be dismissed upon payment to the court fund.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. You have done full rehabilitation. This is coming from the guy that said, I hope the only time I ever see you again is as a defendant, and now look at that.
That's what I said.
So, if you could, that would be awesome. Anyway,
you get the spillover because I really am. I have so many major cases pending in this 4-county district, homicides in all of them and it's unfair at times. But I mean, I got pulled over to that, and then the surprise about that allegation against my client, and it was just like, it's. I'm not making excuses. I mean, it was not a nice thing to say, and I shouldn't have said it, but I really am trying to figure out some way to help this, knowing that my clients are, God damn, it's like trying to build a house and you got somebody standing there who's got, newspaper. because that's what I feel like my clients are. Whenever I turn to them for something, anything that helps me in terms of making headway in the case, all I end up with is an hour-and-a-half diatribe that leaves me holding nothing.
Well,
I mean,
so
they can go on and on and on.
If you look at it from this perspective, I actually filed that motion that I did to try to cut through the bullshit on as many issues as we. There's some things that there are disputes and we just can't get it. I mean, we're just going to have to hash it out or whatever. But on those things, again, I understand that you want to see back up in the chart and
well, the primary issue that both of us can actually align forces on is on the reimbursement number. That number is squarely the responsibility of the equitable powers of the receiver, and he has sat on his fucking hands and done nothing to verify whether or not that number is accurate. And that bugs me. If he told me on the phone that he's had that figure for some time and still has not investigated it. And I'm like, well, Rhodes, what do you think you're getting paid $380 an hour for?
Well, here's what happened. I went over and met with him about 2 months ago, or maybe a little bit less. I think it was at the beginning of August, and said, on that issue, I was like, what can we do?
Yeah,
that was the top. What can we do to move this forward? Well, I got to look at this same thing he's always said. I got to look at this. And I said, well, how about this? How about we try? I'll try to lighten your load so you can get it done. These are things that I think the evidence goes one way on it. If it doesn't, then Jordan will chime in and say his view. But these are the things that I think that there's only evidence. There's not going to be any other. There's either evidence only goes one way, or there's not going to be any coming to the contrary. How about I do a summary disposition on those issues, and that way you don't have to F with it, Rhodes. And he says, well, he kind of bristled, and I was like, well, you're not doing a fucking thing, so why?
Yeah.
You should welcome it,
Yeah, why are you bristling there?
Right, and also if the judge decides, I mean, it just gets him off the hook for a big chunk of it. So I thought, I mean, look, if I was the receiver, I would say, hell yeah, do that. Now I don't have to mess with that part of it. That's less for me to have to do. Well, anyway, so he says, put your position and your supporting evidence on paper. I'm like, well, if I'm doing this anyway, I'm just going to turn it to this motion, and because this way I know if it's teed up, it may not go my way, but at least we'll get some movement, and if I don't like it, I can appeal it or whatever, but at least it'll move the ball forward, because I've given him, there's nothing else for me to give him. I've given him everything.
I used to, and Chris, I used to believe that because Rhodes himself, when I called him, said, yeah, I got to move this case to the top burner. But you know how many times he said, I got to move the case to the top burner? He said 45
days in January of 2018. He said he'd have it done in 45 days. And that's more time than he really needed. Okay?
Yeah, and I believed him. I feel like an idiot.
Well, we're coming up on we're over 2 years since the thing was filed. We're coming up on 2 years since he's been appointed receiver, and the problem is he's not
doing anything. Yeah.
I mean, he's been your worst enemy on saying that it's not a simple dissolution, because if it was so simple, his ass would have had it done by now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if it started out that way, he's made a pretty strong case against you that it's not, because he's been sitting on it for that long.
Dude, all he's doing,
you know what he's doing.
Using this as a source of income.
Right.
That's all he's doing.
You don't have to look too hard into it. So he's charged over $50,000, and I'm like, and done what? What is he really? What has he generated? I mean, I understand he's been a somewhat of a document repository or whatever. But what work product, what analysis has he generated? Okay,
Exactly.
all they've done is taken what the information that your clients gave him, and really nothing that I gave him, just what your clients gave him, like deposits were made, and all they've done is just plug that into their little program. They haven't.
No, they haven't analyzed shit, and I know. And I'm sorry, I feel like a buffoon, because I actually believed that. I was like, thank God we got an accountant. He's going to sort it out in 45 or 90 days and bring all parties back to the table, and we'll have a starting point for negotiation, and then boom, we sit down, we figure out, and then boom, it's over. And instead, he's just sitting on it at $3.80 an hour.
$3.80 an hour. Look, here's the thing. I'm an advocate. You're an advocate, but you have to agree that what I've done, even though in the advocate role, is I've tried to show the lay of the land and support it with evidence. Not for my client, for as much as I can, but as much as I can from your client, because that's that's how you're going to prove it up. Because I didn't see him doing that. That's all I've tried to do. So let's do this. What are some action items? You want the records that back up the expenditures. I'm also going to show you where Tyler put that $50K in, because that's another thing that James goes on about. His testimony is that there's no out of pocket, but I realized that when you talk to him, then he says, we bought those mobile homes, so this maybe will resolve that. But we should continue this discussion, try to figure out a way forward, figure out where we can at least, if we can't resolve the whole thing, how far can we narrow it?
I think like what you said, right. And I think what you do is, you get all copies of all the checks that were for draws. Like you said, get the information on the expenditures. And
hang on just a second. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be off the phone. Okay, just wait 2 minutes. All right. This is my other client, and she's saying I gotta go. I got a summary judgment due.
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. But tell me what you were saying. I told her 2 minutes.
Now you get the checks that Tyler had. Get anything that shows the deposits, and then get the stuff for the expenditures. Consolidate it into a small packet, as small as you can, knowing that my clients are as dumb as they are, and I feel bad saying that about them, but I mean, make it as simple as you can. Send that to me, and then
you've got to figure out a way to get them to reciprocate and say, here's what we want, and here's the factual basis for why we want it. Right? That's the trick.
And give me an initial idea of, and I hate putting this on you, but sounds like
I've already done it.
I've already done it. Yeah. Give me some idea of how to cut this up as a starting point, and we'll go from there. And I know, what you're saying is, but again, use the house as a point of negotiation, because when you use that house, that's going to give me more power to crush my clients' hopes and dreams. And so I think it's useful, unless Tyler doesn't want it. I don't know if he wants it or not.
I don't really know. Some days I think he does. Other days I think I've told him, man, just if we can get out from under this, just wash your hands of it. But I've already done all this, so it's not onerous. I'll just repackage it for you, and I'll give you because I have backup for. I mean, I can point to what I'm relying on, and then it's up to you to look at it and assess it, and if you think it's got value. But to the extent that I can, I've tied everything to either testimony or a record, and then other things I've had to go back and recreate, like the occupancy and the rents that I think were collected, and the ones that weren't. So let me work on that. I'll get you those documents. do me a favor and make a call and see what's going on with that criminal deal, and in Macon
Oh,
County
believe
too.
me.
I don't know
I'll
if
be back in the office on Monday, and believe me, I will. And I'll talk to Donnie Baker. I got lots of cases with Donnie, so Donnie and I negotiate all the time. And even though I'm not, this is back channeled, so I am not claiming that I have the authority, because our office has a reported conflict. But
right.
I'm not going to let something bad happen to Tyler out of this set of circumstances. This is ridiculous. And I've always said that and always believed it. I thought it would die on its own, and someone looked at the file and was like, what the fuck? And the fact that it hasn't is, quite frankly, surprising. But believe me, I'll lean on enough people.
I'm telling you this because I know I trust that you won't take it the wrong way. I'm just telling you.
I don't.
I'm telling you legit, straight up. Tyler has rallied his team. He's got James making not just the things that look bad but aren't technically that's technically legal, or they're not illegal. They just look bad. He has more than that. He has him doing some illegal shit. He's got the goods on it. And I talked to him the other day. I said, look, if you can get this thing resolved, I mean, would you just can we just, what can we do to tie everything up to where you leave him alone, he leaves you alone, and you guys, go on down the road? If we can't get something to be it's just going to be like mutually assured destruction. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to us to get something done.
Hey, yeah, it doesn't bother me if those two idiots want to go that route, but it's dumb. But I'm with you. I believe I've seen enough. I mean, the fact that he was even involved in calling over to get Tyler, or his brother was involved in making sure that that they served the Wagoner County warrant on him.
What's funny is,
County.
hey, what's funny is Tyler had Vanessa's phone was through Tyler at the time. She hadn't changed it over. It shows her calling the lighthouse, and then the guy that answered the phone, the preacher, said yes. She called and asked if you were here and where you were sitting.
Oh,
and
my God.
So that is the link. But she called James, told him. He called Aaron, said do this. It's all.
Chris, that's such petty bull. I'm embarrassed that James was involved in that. I certainly didn't know anything about it, but I read everything, and like you say, and now when you're saying, Vanessa was involved, I'm like, good God. I mean, that's such petty bullshit. Does he really think that's going to somehow give him an advantage in this litigation? Yeah. It's not.
You know that he does, and maybe Sewell made him think that in the front end, and it just stuck with him. But I got to go for right now. Let's continue this. We can continue it maybe Friday before the weekend, or we should try to touch base Friday after I'm out from under all this. Okay, late in the day. Does that sound okay?
Yes,
all right,
sir.
partner. Hey, get to feeling better. All right, my friend.
All right, I'll check out your ticket too.
Oh, hey, that made me feel better. All right, I'll talk to you. Bye-bye.
All right.